Hello and welcome to Boomer Live, ladies and gentlemen. And here we are before the semi-final one, and to talk about who are the teams who are going to make it to the final of the World Cup. And not just that, we're also going to be talking about the teams who have made it to the semi-final. Yesterday, we did give you a small insight into the teams, how they have performed so far. We have got Jalen Sandipani and Sai Prasad joining us for the first time. Welcome all of you on the show. Let's just get into this. Four semi-finalists, and there are four people on the show as well. But it's not like we're going to take the sides. I know we are supporting one team, but let's not be biased with our explanations and our views as well. But I'll get to Sai first up, the newcomer on the show. Welcome on the show for the first time. Sai,
Debut.
we've seen this Indian team over the time. We've spoken as well for a long while. How do you see the step from here on? I mean, we always speak about that one bad day. Can we now just put that behind and focus on this one good day now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, thanks for having me today. And looking at the semifinals, so as I said previously, also that what we have done so far in the World Cup, that is gone for sure because this is a semifinal, and this is a semifinal pressure. So, I feel whatever we have done in the group stage, that should be there. But right now, we should focus on the first game of the semifinal, where you can come up with a completely fresh mindset and a fresh team, where you can think about the first game itself. You don't have to think about the final, and you don't have to get carried away with your group stage performance. So it is a day, and to be honest, in the semifinals, I personally feel it's all about the day because, in terms of the preparations, in terms of your hard work, everything you have done already in your group stage, right? So in the semifinals, it's all about the day, the team who will have a better day. To be precise, the team who will make less mistakes, they will win it for sure.
Yeah,
No,
I
I think
think
Abel is.
that pretty much sums it up because Abel, I don't know. I think
Yeah,
he's
I think
facing
Abel has
something.
just been eliminated from the live, like Pakistan. He
RCB.
was in it. He was in it for the first 34 seconds and then gone. But yeah, I think Sai Prasad is absolutely spot on because that's what these matches are about. Knockout matches, isn't it? One mistake here or there, the momentum shifts and the pressure as well just gets added. So it's the team that grabs the momentum first, and then it's the team can act, that the team that actually can sustain that momentum that actually goes on to win it. Doesn't matter what you've done in these past 9 matches. Does not matter. The history is gone. It's not even like how you have in IPL, for instance, where the top two teams have an advantage. Everything is gone. You're on level playing field again. In fact, maybe the best way to look at it is this is a new stage of the tournament, and I think whatever's happened so far doesn't matter. And like Sai Prasad has said, absolutely spot on. It just means what you do on the day, and that's the only thing that hurts us Indians. Because for Indian team, it's been that process where they've done everything right in the league stage, or they have done most things right in the league stage, but then unfortunately they unfortunately sink in the semis and the finals. But Sandipani, then let's get on with it, right? Let's start with the match that's going to happen tomorrow, semi-final one. India v New Zealand, stuff that is made out of nightmares for Indian fans. 2019, that's the whole narrative about it, isn't it? Where you're thinking about 2019 and that Dhoni run out, the first three top order going. I'll tell you what, though, I would really like to see a scenario where the reverse happens. India bats first, and maybe the Indian bowlers do the same thing that what was done to us. Some what of a poetic justice. What do you think, Sandhimani?
Yeah, I think so, but I wouldn't hope that bowls first. Yeah, I think India bats first is the way to go about it because under lights, if New Zealand
Yeah.
can pile up some runs under pressure, India will be under pressure, and I think the 2019 ghost will come back to haunt them somewhere. And Trent Bolt is going to be really, really lethal at Wankhede under lights. So I think that is something that if India has the opportunity, that they can avoid. I know India have been very clinical chasing. They have won 5 on the trot chasing, but then again they won 4 on the trot batting first as well. And we have seen that at Wankhede, if you can somehow, even if you're batting second, if you can somehow tackle that opening ball and don't lose too many wickets, probably you've given 1 or 2 wickets in the first 10 to 15 overs, you have a solid foundation, a solid base from which the middle order batters can come and capitalize on. India have done everything right in this tournament so far, but like you said, the slate is completely clean. And I mean, let's just hope that the form that the Indian batters and the Indian bowlers, all rounders, everybody has shown throughout on the field with the bat, ball on the field, they continue doing that at least for 2 more games.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with you because if you look at one way in which this team has played as well, I think the only thing which scares us all is what might happen, right? But let's just look at how we have played. I mean, a lot of things to talk about that. But I'll come to Jaren now. Jaren, you again at some point in this World Cup, I mean, just after this World Cup gets over, even if India doesn't win, we're going to remember this as possibly one of the best campaigns for Indian cricket team. And if you don't win it, obviously, I'm going to remember it as a lost opportunity. But when it comes to just a good campaign, this is going to go down in history for sure, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some, there are some tournaments where every tournament, in fact, and it's not that every ICC World Cup, the best team of the tournament has won the World Cup. It's about the team that sustains the pressure. That's pretty much an understandable, it's pretty much the fact of the matter. But then, if you really have to say, every tournament that you watch, be it any sport, you know that there's this one team that has done everything right and that deserves, lift the trophy. And they win or not, regardless. I think India is that team this year. They've been phenomenal. They've been flawless. And even in stages where they've been pushed back, India has only fought back harder, and they've been able to, capture the momentum in every and any match. And I think for more than 2 or 3 overs, 4 overs, you probably haven't seen Indian team lose focus or lose the momentum, which is a great sight for any fan, and which is a
Yeah.
very good sight for a team. And I think another really important factor for India this campaign has been the fact that India are at a point of bliss, where I think easily 9 to 10 players in the squad, and I'm mentioning the squad for a reason, has raised their hand when the occasion needed them. So, most of the teams, sometimes when you look at some of the teams, for example, you probably look at England and you'll probably see that the batters did well, but then that their bowling lineup, Jofra Archer was the one key cog in that machinery that helped them lift the World Cup. I think the Australia team, for instance, you always felt like everyone was bowling around Mitchell Stark, and it's been that kind of scenario. Even if you look at the India's 2011 World Cup, right? You
Yeah.
always felt like the top order, the Sachin, Virendra Sehwag, that kind of start that they gave us always helped us go through, and they were the middle order is well chipped in. But it's never been a flawless game, right? I think 2007 World Cup where Australia absolutely demolished opposition. That was the only flawless one you've seen. Even in 2003, Australia did not actually have a flawless World Cup. And 1999 as well, it wasn't a flawless World Cup. So this is one of those teams which have thus far been flawless. And it's been the fact that everything has come together so far. And the team
Yeah.
looks happy. The dressing room looks good. It just seems like right now everything is golden. Whatever India touches is looking good. And that's a very good factor for India.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, we've spoken about India, but let's just shift focus in New Zealand as well. I mean, New Zealand as a team, Sai, has come to this World Cup with a lot of things which they have done well in the last 4 years. I mean, from the 2019 World Cup, a lot of people thought they'll taper off. That was the last of it. But no, they went on to play a T20 World Cup semi-final, went on to the World Test Championship, and went on to play a T20 World Cup final in Dubai as well. So they have been consistent as ever in that brief period as well. Though India hasn't been, they have at least won an ICC trophy in that meanwhile as well. So they know now how to play in these big occasions as much as India. And they are a team who have always done this, right? They always come back after having a very mediocre season, but come the big games, they often tend to step up. If you remember that World Cup campaign they had in Dubai, for example, that England team was possibly the best team on that World Cup. In that World Cup, they were the best team. They defeated everybody coming into that semi final. And what happened there was one bad over from England and New Zealand capitalized. Can we just say for New Zealand and India, there's not a 60-40 game, but rather a 51-49 because the marginal difference really comes down. Though it's a home ground, whatever you say, but because it's New Zealand, because they have that temperament of dealing in these situations time and time again, they're a much more mature team than what they were in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, that's really true. And to be honest, it's semi-final, so it's always 50-50 because it's all about the day. And if you talk about the team, then I feel they are not in that much momentum because in the last 5 games, they have won only single game, to be honest. and the rest, all the 4 games they have won, as compared to other teams like India or Australia or South Africa, they have won to the lower teams if you talk about it, right? So, firstly, they don't have a momentum, but secondly, they do have great experience in the knockouts. They have crossed the hurdle in the last WTC final, so they do have the experience to cross the hurdle. Like in India, we all know that we always dominate the group stage completely. But the only question arises is all about the knockout stage where we fail to cross the hurdle. But in the case of New Zealand, they have the experience to cross it, but the small part, which can be the momentum, that they don't have the momentum because they have won only single game the last 5 games. So I feel it
Yeah.
will be still 50-50 because of the semi-final experience they have. And the only advantage I'll give to India is that if they bat first in the 1K day, which is the final of 2011, that's the only thing I feel will be the great advantage for India. If they chase it down, I feel it will be difficult because once you put the total on the board, even though it's 280 or around 300, still it's a big total, right? So I feel
Yeah.
that's the advantage for India.
No, before that, Glenn Maxwell chase, the highest ever chase before that was what Tom Latham and Ross Taylor had done against India in 2017, where they both scored twin hundreds and they went on chase 280 or against India. So chasing has been difficult, and when we talk about a high scoring ground like Wankhede, 280 has been one of the highest chases before this. So you can just imagine it took a Maxwell's best knock of ODI history to really pull off that bigger chase. I'll come to you, Sandeep. If you look at the way in which our Indian team has also prepared for it, they'd obviously know that Trent Bolt is a massive factor to this. And Trent Bolt will also know a lot of burden lies on him because there's no more a Matt Henry who troubled India in that semi-final, that historic semi-final we talk about, the 5-4-3 occasion. Trent Bolt picked up Virat Kohli, but it was Matt Henry who had the 3 wickets out of the 4 which India lost in the first 10 overs. So you can see at this point, a lot of this burden is shifted to a Trent Bolt, right, to pick up wickets. And if he doesn't pick up wickets, they can go for plenty of runs, as you saw in a lot of these games running into that game against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Trent Bolt will be under quite a lot of pressure as well. I think we people are actually hyping Trent Bolt a lot because if it's under lights, I am sure Trent Bolt will come good for New Zealand. But then again, you have to understand that he'll be under extreme pressure too. And when Matt Henry hasn't been there in this side, Henry I think has picked up 11 wickets in the 7 games that he played, and he is still currently the third highest wicket taker for New Zealand in this campaign. That just goes on to show they have heavily relied on Mitchell Santner and Trent Bolt's performance in this World Cup as well. And then I think India will have the opportunity to fancy say a Lockie Ferguson or a Tim Southee because that is where they can really take the attack on the bowlers. And I think with the mindset and the approach that Shubman Gill or a Rohit Sharma in particular has started off the innings with, I don't see them really bogging down to a Trent Bolt unless Trent Bolt does something magical under lights and picks up 2 early wickets or 1 early wicket. 1 early wicket. If he does not pick up Rohit Sharma, basically, I don't think India is going to get bogged down. Even if he goes on to pick up Shubman Gill early, I still feel the combination of Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma in particular is going to take the attack on the bowlers, especially in the power plays, just to unsettle them, even if the target is high. And because they know and they trust their middle order batters, the informed batters, especially Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul, to come good for them. But one thing that concerns me right now is, I mean, Shreyas Iyer has been in magnificent form. Last 3 innings, scores of 77, 86, 100, 129 not out, or some 400 odd runs in this tournament. But the only problem that I have with Shreyas Iyer is he has performed when India were 100. He has come to bat when India were 100 odd runs for 2
Yeah.
after having a rollicking start, after fully exploiting the power play. But whenever Shreyas Iyer has came at a stage where India was a 40 for 2 or 20 for 2, that is where Shreyas Iyer has, I think, gone a bit restless and thrown his wicket away. You see that same Shreyas Iyer tackle the short ball better when he comes in when the ball is old, or probably when the power play is done with, India has a good start. But how he will tackle pressure when India have lost 2 early wickets is one thing that Shreyas Iyer will still have to work on. Having said that, I think
Absolutely.
all the batters, middle order batters, have really, raised their hands and turned up to the occasion when they were needed. And Trent Bolt, the pressure will be on Trent Bolt as well, because Tim Southee, Lockie Ferguson, and especially that fifth bowling option of Rachin Ravindra or a Glenn Phillips is what India will be looking to target. And
I
even if
agree.
they give respect to a Trent Bolt and Mitchell Santana and just play out 20 overs, I still feel that India can go on to post a huge total if they can exploit the fifth or fourth bowling weakness from New Zealand.
I agree. I agree. But let's just talk about the toss as a factor, Jiran. If you look at Wankhede in this World Cup, though Rohit Sharma was very clear in denying the fact that toss doesn't really matter in a game like this, and he knows Wankede's wicket well. But average batting first score in Wankhede this season in the World Cup has been 357 for four, but the batting second is 188 for seven. And if you take the Maxwell's innings off, that average total even comes down to a very big extent. So is that a big disparity of scores? Batting first really gives an advantage from whatever we've seen so far in this World Cup, or does toss really doesn't matter at all, as Rohit Sharma mentioned?
No, I think he's got some merit to when he says toss doesn't really matter, because we've discussed this before as well, right? One of the major factors why this World Cup has been so competitive is because when you win the toss, there are two factors that come into play. The first one is obviously if you're batting second, there will be dew formation by the end of the 30th over, especially considering how warm it has been here in India. That's just added to that factor, and we've seen how dew has helped teams chasing. But the other side of that edge, right? Other side of the double-edged sword is that the first 10 overs are going to be extremely difficult to bat, and it's going to be a test match level batting prowess that is required from the openers and from the top order. So what you've seen in Wankhede especially has been that breeze blowing in from the sea. This really aided the new ball in the under the lights. So I think if you really look at it in that way, you have to be able to decide, which way. I mean, you have to basically decide if you think your batters can manage that opening burst of spell, considering how good your batting is, how technically sound your batters are, and comparing it to how threatening or how penetrative how penetrative the other ballers can be. I think in this case, though, if you really think about it, both the teams I still believe would want to bat first. The scoreboard pressure being the first factor, and secondly, both the teams have really had those fast bowlers who enjoy bowling in conditions that Wankhede might just dish out. But I mean, one thing is for clear, Abel. This time around, teams that have won the toss have really lost games. Not many teams have won the toss have actually won the game. So toss, while you say is a factor, it's also not really helped teams to win in this World Cup because of how much of a double-edged sword is involved in this, and how much you don't know on the day how much of any of these factors can be. Some days, the new ball might play a lot bigger role. Some days a dew might come in. For example, the Sri Lanka Pakistan game, people don't talk about it, how dew came in and really aided Mohammad Rizwan and Abdullah Shafiq to really go after the Sri Lankan bowling at a point in time where you felt like there was going to be a steep chase. So we've had the other side of it as well, and that's the point where you feel like toss, while it is hyped up, it can also lead to your team's downfall, because sometimes when you win the toss, you expect the team to win the game, which is not something that should actually be expected, because there are 100 overs to be played after the toss, and toss is not really decided. In fact, maybe winning the toss has been a curse on the captains.
I agree. But what I've seen, the data available in everywhere, toss has played a factor at least in one ground, that is Wankhede. But Sai, let's just talk about the factor about this particular game and Tim Southee as well. And there's a comment as well. Tim Southee might do well. Dal Mitchell always a clutch in big matches. Tim Southee has done well against Rohit Sharma, and Rohit Sharma's average in Wankhede is just 14. Now, Rohit Sharma will have to get past that matchup. At the same time, we also have to hope that you don't give away your wicket to Tim Southee in conquest, not giving it away to Trent Bolt. Now, that's exactly what happened in the World Cup 2019 final. And Tim Southee against India has often done well. Let it be a T20 game or let it be the test matches, it's often done well. And if India has to chase in that ground, anything next to 250, with the ball moving around, Tim Southee will bring both the edges into play. And he's also got this ball which comes in now, which he's developed over the last few years. And that's really troubled Rohit Sharma more than anything else. So that's going to be a big factor here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is, I was reading a stat about Wankhede pitch. So all the group stage games that have played on the ground, around 23 of the wickets were lost in the first 15 overs in both the innings. That means all the teams are losing their both the openers, at least one opener in the first 15 overs. So that's pretty sure that the same trend will happen in the tomorrow's game, because at least two out of four, at least two openers will lose their wicket in the first 15 overs. That's pretty sure that's going to happen anyhow, right? Now that the thing matters is it going to be Rohit Sharma? Is it going to be Gill or the other two openers of the opponent side? Right. So to be honest, as you just said about the average for Rohit, so it might be a challenge for him as well. As Jaren said about the test match level batting is required, that's completely true, because in the first 10 overs, it's all about to survive. The one who will survive in the first 10 overs, even though you have around 35-40 runs, that's a win situation for you, even though you lose a wicket. So if you survive the first 10 overs, around 10 to 12 overs for both the sides, then the side will continue the momentum for the rest of the games. Imagine Rohit Sharma playing 15 overs, right? If he plays 15 overs initially, then you can imagine what kind of damage he can make for the rest of the innings, right? So it's all about the surviving technology, kind of a technique the batters will show tomorrow in terms of surviving.
I agree. I mean, technique is such an important factor. Let's talk about a player who's really shown a lot of technique in this World Cup. That's Rachin Ravindra. I mean, Sandeep, he's shown a lot of progress when it comes to his temperament. He's shown what he can do in a big stage like this as well. You reckon, just talking about Rachin Ravindra, the player, how big a factor is he going to be? Because he scored a 50 against India the last time we met, though we gave him a chance earlier on. Alongside Rachin Ravindra is Daryl Mitchell. There's already a comment on him. Now, these two
Yeah.
are the major players we have to worry with, and also a silent killer in Kane Williamson. We often tend to neglect him because he goes under the carpet. Even if you look at that semi final in 2019, that partnership which Kane Williamson had with Ross Taylor had a big benefit in that game, ultimately, if you look at it. And I think as much as we talk about these lads, Rachin Ravindra, Daryl Mitchell, and Kane Williamson, these three are going to be the decisive players ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think Teju someone mentioned that Daryl Mitchell is always clutch in big matches. I agree with that. And also, I think in the last game where India played against New Zealand, I think India got off to a flyer. I mean, really restricted New Zealand. The opening spell from both Bumrah and Siraj were brilliant. Mohammad Shami came in to play his first game, was brilliant at the start as well. And he was brilliant throughout the phase as well. But we saw that in the middle overs. Or probably after the first 10 overs, you saw a Daryl Mitchell and Rachin Ravindra really grind it out there, and I mean really work hard for the runs early on. And then once the pitch became a bit easier to bat on, I think they really accelerated and took the attack on Kuldeep Yadav. I think Kuldeep Yadav is one player that not a lot of teams have targeted in recent times because of him being in exemplary form. But that is something that New Zealand did. They picked out one of those five bowlers to target on, and they really went after him. He was at one point had considered 48 of first 5 overs, but then he eventually came back after they lost a wicket. So I think, yeah, the top four for New Zealand is going to be the key, as you can see on the stat as well. These are the top four. I mean, Devon Conway, Rachin Ravindra is going to open. You have a Kane Williamson who was injured, but he's averaging 93 in this tournament in the 3 games that he has played. And also you have a Daryl Mitchell. So this top four from this New Zealand side is very dangerous. And if India can have a good start with the ball and somewhere put pressure on them, I think that is where the mistakes will come. They would be looking to, I mean, get off to a flyer as well, because Devon Conway, if you talk about Devon Conway's stats, this 359 may look good, but he scored 152 not out of the first game, in the first game that he played against England. After that, he has just scored 207 runs of the next 8 innings at an average of 25. So he would be looking to go in and score big as well. And he's that one player who did a decent enough job in the last 1-2 years as well. And Devon Conway, Daryl Mitchell, Rachin Ravindra, and also Kane Williamson have been very stable, good technical players who can really grind it out there and play a defensive role as well if
Yeah.
needed to. And that is where India will look to really not leave any loose ends, because expect New Zealand to come out there and target at least two bowlers from out of India tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah.
Mohammad Shami has been in terrific form, but he did go for some 33 runs in the last in the last game in the 6 overs that he bowled. And then you also have a Mohammad Siraj who has looked better and better as the tournament has progressed. But I feel that they are going to target either two of Shami, Siraj, and Kuldeep Yadav.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they will be targeting mostly, I feel, Mohammad Siraj because he is a bowler who can be slightly erratic as well. But given the conditions of Wankhede, if he's bowling in the second innings, he should have a lot more help off the wicket. But Jeremy, when we talk about India as well, if you look at the way in which how India played in 2019 and now, a lot of the worry has been as to how our top four has not made runs. If you look this time around, we've had a good run. If you look, especially in the middle overs, and in the power play has been the biggest benefit here, where we have scored almost at six, at six a clip. And middle overs, we've been trying to nullify it, and towards the latter end, though we have not gotten to batting most of the times towards the latter end, but in the recent past, we've really been able to up the ante, score those 350s or 400s. And if you look in the last match, which we did, and if you look at the top run scorers, Virat Kohli has definitely been there. But the biggest of them is that Shreyas Iyer scoring 400 plus runs. If you look in 2019, we had combination of four players scoring 268 runs at number four, and number five also did not come in party. Here you have two players at number four, number five, who have scored in excess of 350 runs in KL Rahul and Shreyas Iyer. And if you just take Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma out because they've always scored runs, but this is your biggest benefit going into tomorrow's game in comparison to 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. And India's been phenomenal in the power play. I think they've been the best team in the power play when it comes to that. When it comes to taking that aggressive route. If you look at their run rate when it comes to batting, they are the best in the league stage with 6.37. And they've only lost nine wickets. That's 9 wickets in 9 matches, which means a wicket per match. That's incredible if you're scoring 63 runs on an average and only losing a wicket. That's the best start you want. I know, and India's batted in both the situations, right? India has equally chased and had to bat first. Now I know a few of those matches, probably the New Zealand game, the Netherlands game rather, you'll probably see that it does inflate it a bit. The England game as well inflated it a bit. Not the England game, but rather I think it was the England game, yeah, where Rohit Sharma went. Yeah, it was a New Zealand game, or was it? Sorry, it was a South African game. It was a South African game where India had a very good start and India
Netherlands
really
and
went
South
on.
Africa, both of the games were
Yeah,
91.
so Netherlands and South Africa are the two matches which would inflate it. But then, considering that South Africa are one of the best power play bowling attacks in this tournament, and that still gives Indian batters some credit there. So the power play and with the ball as well, India's done very well with the power play. So the momentum, that early momentum shift, has always been towards India in all the games, and that has been the reason where you win these matches, because World Cup, it's always about grabbing that early momentum, because the pressure only doubles when the momentum is against you. And the finals, I think that triples, maybe even quadruples if you get that early momentum. And the longer you can go on, right, with that stretch. Especially in a game like one day, right, which is still not for 100 overs, that momentum can last longer as well. I mean, in a T20 game, 1 over, 2 over, the game can change. But in the 50 overs format, if in an over you lose 2 wickets, you still have the momentum, you can maybe play a little bit defensively with the bat and just take your time, bide your time, and then once again get back to the momentum. So it doesn't just get lost. That pressure doesn't build quickly in a one-day format. So that means that taking that early momentum is very important. That's where India has done a very good job so far.
I agree. I mean, that starts from Rohit Sharma has been
Yeah.
invaluable at this point, you can say so, because though he has played only 40s and 50s, but it's equal to some great knocks. And that's one of the reasons why this is more impactful than what Sehwag did in 2011, because Sehwag only had a
Absolutely.
390 odd season. And here you have had close to 500 run season back to back for Rohit Sharma. And this has been more impactful than 2019, in my opinion, because 2019 he scored those 600s, but in impact wise, this is more impactful for a team to set that stage.
Yeah.
But Sai, just if you look back at this as well, in the way in which New Zealand have bowled, they've been a team who has really leaked a lot of runs. If you look in the power play and also in towards the latter end in the death. But especially if you look in the power play, you can score runs against them in comparison with India. But if you look, India have gone at 4.3. That's because of some magical figures from Bumrah time in and time out. But if you look among the four teams, the other team was gone close to six a clip. And even in that game which we played in Dharamshala, we were able to manage to score those power play runs until unless Lockie came and picked up those 2 wickets towards that time. But yeah, if you look after Matt Henry's departure, they are more susceptible to not picking up wickets in the power play, and they've started to leak a lot more runs. That's one of the reasons why Fakhar Zaman also targeted them.
Yeah, I mean that's really great to see on the screen that you can see that their strength has been the batting, not the bowling, because they tend to kind of leak the runs both in the power play as well as in the death overs as well. They are considering around 7 runs an over in the death overs as well, because due to the form they have, because the bowlers are not in that much form. To be honest, Trent Bolt and Saudi are more kind of swing bowlers and they are more lethal in the power play. If you compare them with Bumrah or Shami or Siraj even, so those are kind of a seam bowlers, right? They don't need that much of swing in their kind of skill set to kind of take the wickets, even though it's any phase of the game. But these two bowlers, mainly the New Zealand's bowling attack, to be honest, precisely the pace attack, they need swing as their skill set to kind of take the wickets, and that can be only applicable in the power play, right? And in the tournament so far, they tend to lose huge amount of runs in the power play. It is around 7, right? So that's kind of a, that's why I said they don't have momentum. They have won only a single game in the last 5 games due to this. So that's why they do have a kind of a disadvantage of this. But we never know. It's semi-final. Anything can happen. But yeah, we have an advantage as compared to New Zealand.
I agree there. But if you just look at the way in which how these guys have played, there is a lot of talks about Kyle Jamieson's inclusion in this team. Sandipani, do you see that being a genuine talk? Because Kyle Jamieson has troubled India, but if you look at his white ball stats, there's so much in difference with what he has done in the red ball format and in conditions as well. Conditions matter here. At any point, will New Zealand consider Kyle Jamieson? Obviously, he can bat a little bit, but him coming in into this team ahead of a Lockie Ferguson or a Tim Southey, is that a probable change they look to make?
No, I don't think so because first of all, like you said, I mean, Kyle Jamieson really has an impact on the New Zealand side in the red ball format, not in the white ball format. And also, if you talk about the three seamers that New Zealand have right now, I think Trent Bolt has been the most effective, 13 wickets in 9 games. But then also, he hasn't been the Trent Bolt of the past. He hasn't really troubled batters early on, hasn't really been able to apply that kind of pressure which he did earlier because of, the pressure was being applied from both the ends. Matt Henry was there to support him, and then there was no leakage of runs on the other end as well. And also, I think from the game against Australia, I think you can say from the game against India itself because the collapse of New Zealand started from them. They went on to lose four on the trot. And if you see the power play stats of New Zealand in the game against India, Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill did take the attack on the bowlers in the power play. Even though we were chasing 270 odd runs, India scored some 57, 58 runs in the first 10 overs without
Yeah.
losing a wicket. And then Australia completely came out there and just took the attack on Matt Henry and Trent Bolt and really diminished their confidence further, which hasn't improved after the game against Pakistan as well. So I think they will be a much underconfident side right now, and I think Trent Bolt will be needed. I mean, Trent Bolt will obviously have a place in that team, and also Lockie Ferguson in the 6 matches that he has played, he has picked up 10 wickets, and he has been one of the best bowlers for them according to stats.
Yeah.
Even though he has done a decent enough job against teams which face difficulty playing fast, good pace attack. I think he hit it excellently against Bangladesh. Then he had a great performance against Afghanistan, Netherlands as well. But nonetheless, he has picked up 10 wickets in 6 games, so there is no chance of dropping him. I think Saudi has so far been the weakest link, picking up only 4 wickets in 3 games and going at an economy of over 6. But then again,
Yeah.
they wouldn't, risk playing a Kyle Jamieson ahead of their premium fast bowler who has been playing in for them, and I mean whom they trust fully. I mean, this New Zealand side and Ken Williamson has a lot of faith in Saudi. Even if you see some of the critical overs that New Zealand has bowled, say in the super overs and stuff like that, they give the onus on a Team Saudi over a Trent Bolt all the time.
Yeah. But except for the World Cup, finally he is the one who balled. After that, Trent Bolt lost a lot of confidence, I believe. That's one of
Yeah.
the reasons why he's not balled. Every time he gets the ball in a super over, he goes back to that particular day. I think he also balled once in a super over in Dubai against Punjab Kings, and he got smashed by Gale even there. So he
Yeah.
kind of believed that he's not a good super over bowler since then. But
So is Tim
having said
Saudi.
that,
I think Rohit Sharma has obliterated Tim Saudi in the T20 bilateral series
yeah,
where he
yeah, we
won
all
two
remember that
super overs
game,
on the
and
draw.
also
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he's done well, but I think Trent Bolt is obviously a better option, or a Lockie Ferguson. I remember one of the super overs he bought in IPL against SRH. KKR was SRH was a super over in Abu Dhabi. He picked up 2 wickets and he just gave away 3 runs, if I remember. It was the same day which Punjab was in Mumbai happened as well. It was a double header super over that particular day. I remember that. So yeah, Glocky is not a bad option as well. But on the other end of things, Jaren, if you look at Indian bowling attack, they've been very prominent in terms of how they picked up wickets, not just in power play, also towards Latin. We talk about Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah, but we are not talking about Ravindra Jadeja enough in this bowling attack. Those
Yeah,
five are really inflates that figures, but he's been
yeah.
outstanding. That economy of 3.97, it's just stuff of dreams for a spinner. Right? This World Cup, it's not been that you've got surfaces which just turn square. You've got good surfaces
Mhm.
for batting. You've got good surfaces where batters can play spin well. But he's been on another planet as a spinner. I mean, we've often given credit to Kuldeep Yadav to be our lead spinner in this team, but Jadeja has done a very good role, or even better than him at times.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at economy rate, I think another really important factor is able that really helps India, control things in the middle overs. And once again, I think India in the middle overs has been incredible thanks to the spin duo, right? We've always spoken about how, for instance, I mean, a team like Pakistan has really struggled when it comes to their middle overs, and India in the middle overs while bowling has been the best team when it comes to economy rate, just an economy rate of 4.45, and they've picked up 23 wickets. That is impressive. They have been the best team in the middle and the death as well. And if you just look in the middle overs, Jadeja, he quickly finishes his overs off, and you have to go after either a Jadeja or a Kuldeep Yadav. And the fact that most likely teams will try and go after Jadeja, but the fact that they haven't been able to just shows how important or how amazing of a team has India been in the middle overs. And I think another really important factor that able is also that been their ground fielding, right? Their fielding, especially inside in the inner ring, has been extremely energetic. They've not let go of a lot of chances. I think one of the main narratives about India, especially during that Australia series, was India was making a lot of mistakes when it came to their fielding. Even in the Asia Cup, we saw a little bit. But I think whatever it is, maybe a fielding medal is the reason why. But they are a lot more competitive in the inner ring, especially when it comes to fielding.
Yeah, I think last game was where you saw a little bit of flaws from and tumbles from
I think they
India.
were
I think
not really
yeah, they
focused
were
in the
not
last
serious about
game.
that
Yeah,
game, and we've seen that from Team India time and time again. They're not serious; they're just not serious, and we see a
yeah.
lot of mistakes. I think India is a team which doesn't take class tests or any of this useless things, seriously. So but Sai, if you look at the way in which how New Zealand have also played this entire tournament, one interesting factor about this New Zealand team has been the way in which they've fielded, right? But this World Cup, they've made their mistakes, but the tactical places where they've kept the fielders, right? To have a Glenn Phillips in the inner circle, he saved the most number of runs in this World Cup when it comes to his inner fielding skills. And you saw that against India in the first match as well. New Zealand came back into that game just by applying pressure on field. And tomorrow's game, once again, is going to be a factor of who's going to feel the best. If you can save that plus 10, plus 15, that's going to be a major difference in the semi final game. And New Zealand are masters in doing it. They've done this in multiple IC tournaments and they want to not change that at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's really true because, as I said on the semi-final day, in the knockouts day, the one who will do less mistakes, they will win for sure. It's not like who will perform better because both the teams are equal better. That's why they are in the knockouts, right? So the team who will do less mistakes, they will for sure take the game away. And mistakes in the sense, for sure, fielding will come in that as well because batting can be your maybe your hard work preparation and your luck sometimes. Same thing goes with bowling, but for the fielding, it's all about the preparation. Fielding is not something you can depend on luck, right? Sometimes on batting or bowling, you can say something like that, maybe about the luck factor, but for fielding, you cannot replace that with any other kind of factor. And we know all the four sides have brilliant fielding side, even though you take all the rest of the two semi-finalists, they are the brilliant sides, fielding sides, right? So yeah, in the pitch like 1K day, if you save 10, 15 runs, then nothing can be better than that because
Absolutely.
we know that it can be, we know that it will reach beyond 280 if it is batting first. In the semi-final, it will reach beyond or close to 300 for sure. But if you save 15 runs, then it will come down to 280 around, right? So that will be a great thing for sure.
Absolutely. I will take some comments here. For India, Gill and Surya come and go is what Teju predicts. Uh, Azil says, who is New Zealand's weak link? We did say about the fifth bowler even yesterday. As to their fifth bowler, a combination of Glenn Phillips, Rachin Ravindra, Daryl Mitchell will be their biggest weak link, and the middle order batting. To be very honest, after top four, if by chance Rachin and Conway falls early, if you're going to put in Mitchell and Kane, if they also don't really come up to the whole four, then Latham and these other lads haven't really had. Though Glenn Phillips has had a very good tournament with averaging 40, but he's not really played an impactful knock. Maybe the Afghanistan game is a bar over there. There also, you had a Latham who really kind of guided him, and that pitch really required that kind of an innings. In Wankhede, you'll have to be more proactive. Why is Rachin Ravindra here on the show? I'm not sure about that. If
I
you can
told,
introduce
I
the
think in the pre-match as well, I told him he looks like Rachin Ravindra because he completely looks like he's in the get-up. I think he's on his way to destroy India.
no. Tomorrow he's not destroying India.
Don't take it out of context, guys.
If
Emil,
you can
Emil will
introduce
not
the
come over
fourth
here if
person.
India by chance does not make it to the
Yeah, it's
finals.
guys. If Rachin Ravindra scores, you know on whom to hate.
Yeah.
We
Guys,
got Rachin
please don't
Ravindra
do
hosting a
this.
show in India,
Please don't do
appreciating
this.
them. He's gonna bully India tomorrow.
Yeah, so the fourth person is Sai Prasad. He joined us for the first time. He's been with the Pro Kabaddi League and he's been with Kale now. And a lot of these, he's an analyst. He works on numbers as well, just like Sandeepani and Jaren as well. Big buff. He's a official data analyst, and like just like
I
Sandeepani.
mean, I
So
don't
yeah,
think you should take Sai and Sandipani and Jaren in one sentence. I think I'm a little bit away from their skills. I think they are the goats.
but primarily Sandeepani, it's similar skill sets. So you only compare all rounders with all rounders. So that's what it is. Yeah, similar skill sets, and you can see one of the graphs was also provided by him. You can follow him on social media if you're interested, or LinkedIn. Thoughts on Abdul Razak comments? I think that's the highlight of the day. Uh, I mean, गवारों को क्या ही बोलेगा यार, गवार आदमी है वो. छोड़ दे.
Yeah, I think that is why I think Pakistan. I mean, education is important and something that some of the ex-Pakistani cricketers deeply lack is education. And
I don't know. Today is one day I thought we'll never talk about Pakistan, but see,
I mean, Michael
this is what
Andrew
happened.
wants us to.
Today was one day I
Anyway,
thought I'll not talk about Pakistan, but it just had to, right? Abdul Razak
yeah, I
made
mean,
the
we
right
we
call.
we, we shouldn't mention. I mean, we don't need to mention Pakistan today because it's
Oh,
all
what
about
was
India
his
versus New
comment?
Zealand.
Would you mind explaining to couple what was his comment?
I I don't think that is necessary, but I think it was very disrespectful to.
It's outside the realm of our
It was
analysis.
Yeah,
regarding what the whole context of the conversation was. He was talking about system and why you shouldn't blame the captain and the system, why you should differentiate the both. And but to be very honest, what happened was uh, he compared it by saying, if you marry Aishwarya Rai, you're not going to make well-behaved kids or well-mannered kids. That's the whole statement, which has created a lot of issues, right? So that is where
I
we
think,
stand.
yeah, I think we'll take cue from Abdul Razak's mistake and only talk about cricket and nothing else.
Yeah, just as we talk about Pakistan, I just have to talk why Pakistan team has done really well. As I update that stat on the screen, we'll come back to that particular conversation as well. But having said that, we will talk about the second semi-final tomorrow because I think we've covered in depth for today, and I think it'll
yeah.
be just very ridiculous of us to go to the second semi-final because only if we know what happens tomorrow, we'll be in a better state. I really want to do it today because tomorrow decides what we're going to talk about day after tomorrow. But having said that, I'll just put this on the screen as well. Very interesting stat why Pakistan is the number one team in the world because of some really good batting they've had. Consider
And
they've scored
Kudrat
more
Ka
than
Nizam.
1,000 runs. Huh?
And Kudrat Ka Nizam.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to bring this today, to be very honest, but then what to do? You have to, right? You have
But
to. A
I mean,
day
if you
without.
don't bring in Pakistan, I mean,
We've
Emil's life
become
isn't complete
national
without
media now. We bring Pakistan for everything. So this is what I wanted to display. Why this was just
deadly
an.
combo. I think both are equally deadly, and I
I
think you
mean,
can't. Yeah, I mean the stats speak for itself. I mean both have performed
Uh,
exceedingly well in the World Cup. One has scored, one has conceded, but nonetheless, I think number one bowler in the world and the fastest bowler, one of the fastest bowlers in the world, have traveled very fast. I mean, the ball has just traveled very fast off the bat as well
yeah, I
from
think
all
he's
these
balled at
bowlers.
the speed of sound and traveled at the speed of light. That's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
Yeah,
best
the
like
way
one
like
to
is
some of
put
the
one
it.
one is
commentators
like
say, he has bowled in at
I
150
think
and traveled at 170.
light is Harris and sound is Shaheen. So that's how it's been. Like I remember seeing this video before Asia Cup. इंडिया का बस ख्वाब देखेंगे, इंडिया का पास 3 पेसर्स आएंगे जो विकेट चटकाएंगे, पर हाँ, इंडिया का पास पेसर जो विकेट चटकाता है और
But I
पाकिस्तान का
think we are
पास
way
दो है.
past Shaheen Shah Afridi and Harris
Yeah, I
Safram.
think
We should only
we're
focus
done with
on
that. We're not
Trent
talking
Bolt.
about that.
Yeah,
Done.
focus
We
on
are not going
Trent
to give
Bolt,
them any
Tim
more
Southee.
credit.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
we're not
yeah.
going to give them any more credit. But let's just get back to this as well. Sai, if you look at our power play batting, right? Though we have scored at a very good clip, one where we have not really considered. I mean, we are on a very good, same as New Zealand as well. We're not considered a lot of power play wickets. Though Shubman Gill has fallen more often than Rohit Sharma has fallen. But we're not like one of those teams. Like if you look in that graph, you can see Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, they've lost a lot of power play wickets. And this is where you reckon India have done a lot better in terms of how they maintain that caution with aggression.
Yeah, I mean that's true because to be honest, India played in 9 different venues in all over the India, and in one day they have played against I guess Netherlands, I guess, or which team they
Sri
have played?
Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka.
Okay, against Sri Lanka they have played in one day, and do you guys remember how many wickets they lost in the
Yeah,
power
it
play?
was.
In
Yeah,
We
India
lost. We
lost
lost
one
one
wicket.
wicket. One wicket.
Rohit
One
Sharma in
wicket.
the
yeah.
second delivery.
Yeah, correct. So that's the reason because again in semi-final we look more towards the pitch, we'll look more towards the venue, and we played against Sri Lanka, right? And to be honest, in the Sri Lanka attack, the only one pacer which I remember can be a lethal one. It is Madhushankar, right?
Yeah.
None another player from Sri Lankan team can even threat us, right? But in this game, it's still in Wankhede, and as I said, around 23 wickets were lost in the first 15 overs, and that due to the quality pace attack. And Sri Lanka didn't have that one, right? But yeah, New Zealand do have the quality pace attack. They might kind of take a couple of early wickets, at least one for sure, because that's the trend how it's going on so far. So one for sure will be there, but we don't want it to be Rohit Sharma's wicket because we want him to play for a longer term. If you talk about the stat, then for sure I'll highlight Afghanistan for it because they lost a single wicket in every game in the power play, not more than that. 9 wickets in 9 games in all the power plays. That's again a commendable stat for them to
Yeah.
be along with New Zealand and India for Afghanistan, right? So for sure, if you feel about that, but I feel that Wankhede will for sure we will lose couple of wickets early, at least one for sure because we'll have to be fair with the stats. We'll have to be fair with the practical reasons we have in our front. So that's why I feel these stats are there, but those are past now, right? These stats are for overall group stage. It's not only for the 1K. And if you
Yeah.
talk specifically about 1K, it's the stat says around 23 wickets were lost, conceded. Again, couple of wickets will go tomorrow as well.
Absolutely. Let's look at the fantasy predictions now for one last time before we end the show because that's where Boomer 11 really comes into play. If you haven't already made your team, maybe you can take a help of it as well. Sandipani, I'll ask your inputs as well on this. How do you see this fantasy team to start out with when you have your KL Rahul as a keeper, then you have Dal Mitchell, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Shreyas Iyer, a very Indian packed team there with we've got a 7-4 combination. Uh, no bias, no
I
bias
think
at
it's
all.
hope.
Very
I think it's
strong.
a bit. There is a slight bias, but then again, we have gone with
No, I think
stats.
it's
I think,
also
yeah,
yeah,
if you
it's also the
support the
first team
stats, I
versus the
think, yeah,
fourth team, so makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
And also, if you look at statistically throughout the tournament, I think these 7 players for India, it is very difficult to leave aside one of the players, uh, any one of the players as well. But I feel tomorrow, if you are feeling a bit, feeling a bit adventurous, you can go in with a Shubman Gill instead of a Shreyas Iyer because
Hmm.
uh, he, Shubman Gill is one player that comes really good in clutch situations. He has done it for the under 19 side. He has done it for the IPL, for his IPL franchise. And it is time that he gets going in the World Cup as well. He has scored 270 runs at an average of 37 in this World Cup, which is below Shubman Gill's par and below the standards that Shubman Gill has set. So I think tomorrow he'll be inching to go. And I mean, Rohit Sharma is a player that really struggles against left arm if there is some swing as well. So even if Trent Bolt kind of gets Rohit Sharma early on, and his Wankhede woos continue, I think Shubman Gill is the player that can really capitalize on. And another player I think that can really, really come good tomorrow is Kane Williamson, because he has looked extremely good in the 3 games that he has played. And coming in at number 3, even if New Zealand falter early on, I think he's that player that can really come in. And also, I think Rachin Ravindra is not here in the team. I think Lockie Ferguson can give way to Rachin Ravindra.
That's a
I
good
mean, I
point. Yeah.
just add to what Sandipani said. I think another reason why Shubman Gill is a very good pick is because he loves New Zealand and he's been extremely
Yeah, he's got a double hundred. He's
confident
got a
against New
hundred this
Zealand.
year earlier on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's got an average of 70 plus when it comes to New Zealand in the 9 matches that he's played, and of course he's got that 200 against them as well. So he could be the man
And it's a
tomorrow.
good wicket to play New Zealand. I mean, Wankhede, if he's
Yeah,
batting first, there's no better time to play New Zealand than that wicket. And he loves
correct.
facing Lockie as well. Though he was dismissed, I was very surprised the way he was dismissed in Dharamshala.
Yeah, I mean,
Otherwise, he's really taken
especially if
Lockie
you're
apart
batting
time and
first. Yeah, if you're batting first, especially New Zealand, whenever they've balled first, Trent Bolt's average has been 95. So he's really struggled in the daylight. When the ball doesn't really swing around. I think the only game where he really looked good was I think it was the last game, that second to last game where they batted first. I don't remember now. Was it
time. Yeah.
Afghanistan? Where he was picking, was it Sri Lanka? Yeah, it was Sri
Sri
Lanka, I
Lanka.
think. Yeah, correct. Where he balled those right lens, where he made life difficult for batters, but there was also a lot of technical mistakes made by the Sri Lankan batters, even though it was good test match bowling. So I think in many ways you can put Trent Bolt under pressure in the daylight, and in fact even Tim Southee I would add to that list. So those are the two
Yeah.
guys you can really go after when it's daylight.
That's a good point. Well, that's about it from us for tonight. I mean, we'll be joining you tomorrow, pre-match and also post-match. Hope you all have a very good game. India was usually enjoy it and have a lot of fun as well. Don't forget to pick your teams at Boomer 11. Get into our app right now and make your teams. If you want to use our predictions, as you see, you can have the team on the screen once more. Screenshot this, do whatever. You can take the same team or making your changes. Go in with your intuitions and instincts at the end of the day. Drop with the same players, whatever your gut says, go in with it, and maybe you can definitely be a champion. Tomorrow will be live after toss at 1:30. So that's where we'll be live at. So don't forget to join us. We'll try to carry you through to the toss and to the game a little bit as well here and there. So that's what we'll try to do tomorrow. Thank you all for joining once again. Have a good time, all of you, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye
Good
bye.
guys.